What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. Today we have Tim Soros. He's done over $10 million every year on Amazon. He absolutely crushes it. He has a huge virtual team. The cool part about him is he very rarely works in his business. He's so a big business owner. So we're gonna get into that kind of stuff, talk crypto, Amazon. He said they just spent 80K on inventory this week. So we're gonna get into all of that. So thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. Love meeting on with you guys. Is this number two or number three? I can't remember.
We haven't had you on this one, I don't
Yeah,
think. I
we
haven't
haven't
Oh
had
talked
you
to
in
gosh, we
this
got
one.
an unstable internet again.
Yeah, a little bit. It's
What's up?
unstable. Yeah,
Fuck me,
we
man.
can't do it.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Side Hustle Experiment podcast. This is take number 3. So we're gonna roll with this. We got Tim Soros in the house. He sold over $10 million in a single year. He has a total VA team that basically runs his business. He's really not super involved in it. He's basically the motivation man. So we're basically gonna talk about that mindset, crypto, maybe, who knows. What's up, man? Thanks for being here.
What's up, John? What's up, Drew? Thanks for having me on. Love talking to you guys. I have always loved talking Amazon literally since the moment I started it. And even though I'm a little bit more of a financier of my company, I still love talking it. So let's talk Amazon. I got some other projects we can talk about. I'm game. Crypto's freaking blasting off. It's hard not to look.
I've been into the crypto, man. So I don't know if I want to start there because I'm sure we'll talk about it too long. But first, give us a little intro and background because I don't know if me and you haven't talked. I don't think like this before. But dude, when I started Amazon, you were like somebody I majorly looked up to and like followed every video you did, all that stuff. Like kind of built on my foundation of arbitrage. So give us a little background there and kind of what your Amazon business looks like.
Yeah, I had the privilege of talking to somebody that's just starting like the other day. She was just like kind of struggling and she reached out and dude, it's crazy. Like the principles are all exactly the same from when I started, if not more so. I couldn't believe looking at my phone and seeing my orders and seeing how basic our strategy is. It's from the same freaking stores I used to buy from. Like nothing's changed. So that was super interesting and not your original question. But you want me to take it back all the way to like when I was kind of starting up and
Yeah, just a little brief overview, like just a few minutes, because if just in
yeah.
case somebody doesn't know you.
Yeah, so I started Amazon. I'm gonna get the year wrong, but 20 I want to say end of 2018. Oh my God. When was COVID? 2020?
Yeah.
2020.
Okay, so I must have started 2019. And I found a mentor. His name was Paul. Like I wasn't really I just needed to make money. I had a baby on the way, and I need to find a way to make money. Tried many entrepreneurial things. They always fizzled out. But with baby on the way, like motivation was there. And my wife introduced me to this guy Paul. He did a video chat with me and showed me like his basically prep center in his house. And I was like, okay, this is like a real business. Because my first thought was, how the hell is Joe Schmo like me going to compete with corporations? I thought corporations were this big, sophisticated thing. Like, how am I going to figure out how to buy and flip products versus Adidas? They have to have like these high level brains over there. That's what I thought. I was like, I had all the limiting beliefs, every single one that everybody else has. Maybe I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe this isn't for me. And I just decided to listen to this dude, Paul, because I saw like the prep center was pretty clear that this is a real business. And a couple weeks go by, and he's just like, dude, sourcing is going to feel like banging your head against the wall. It should, and just keep going. Like right now, you have more money than opportunity, and soon there's going to be more opportunity than money. And I was just hitting the stores, Marshalls, Walmart, kind of liking it, whatever, but doing my best. And then I landed on a shoe store. I landed on like Adidas outlets and just started taking off. Like I started finding some products. I think Costco, I did pretty well too. And just the excitement around like, holy crap, I'm not going to have to be an accountant anymore. I'm just going to be able to flip products. And at that time, I'm putting a ceiling. I'm like, if I could just make like 100 grand a year, this would be a big deal. So from that moment on, I just kept talking about it. I'm just talking and talking to everybody I know. And most people in my regular life just didn't want to hear it. They just fell on deaf ears. And then Charles from Arbitrage Ops invited me on his podcast. Well, it wasn't Arbitrage Ops then, it was just Charles. And we talked and talked about it, and it really was a big hit. So we started a Telegram, and there were a lot of people interested in it. So that spawned Arbitrage Ops. And it all literally spawned from just excitement about talking about like, holy crap, this might be my ticket out of the rat race. And that kind of transitioned into me coaching and motivating and all that. It all just stemmed from just genuine excitement around Amazon.
Yes, it seems like you didn't have like a set plan of like I'm gonna do this next. It just kind of like goes naturally.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm really not big on business planning. Like you got to be in the right market. Finding your right market fit is important, but then just like go for it.
Well, that brings me like this is something I've just been wanting to ask you for so long. It's funny that we started like this. Everybody gets on the pod and they're like, "Here's how you train a VA," or "Here's how this." I'm more curious of like, when do you know that you're like in the right spot to do this stuff, or do you just do it? Because when do you know everybody's at the spot where they have themselves and they might hire one VA? How do you know? Okay, I'm going to build a team, or I'm going to start Arbitrage Ops, which isn't just a Discord group. That's like a company in itself, or you've started all these things. When do you know, okay, now I'm going to make something huge?
Man, you short answer is you don't. You don't really know, but I do know the people that have the strong desire. It's pretty clear like they've got the juice inside to be able to do it. Uh, Arbitrage Ops came. I'm telling you, when we started, me and Charles went back and forth, and I was like, dude, the last thing I want is to be talking to a bunch of like, okay, I like to coach and talk about how awesome this is, but I don't want to be paid and required to. And that's like the last thing I want to do. But then COVID came around. I really enjoyed working on the business. Then COVID came around, there was kind of like a lull, and he was like, come on, let's do it. And I was like, all right, why not? So that one kind of came about, wasn't like something I was like, yes, I want to make courses and communities. That was not really my thing. And what's really interesting about that one, it led to so many good things. Connections, like you get so many amazing connections. But deep down the entire time, believe it or not, I loved coaching, but it wasn't my primary like love. My primary love was working on the friggin' business and maybe coaching in my own employees and stuff. So finally, I ended up opening up my own arbitrage empire, thought that might give me the love, and it really never came. So I ended up closing, well, like semi-selling that to a friend, Cardin, and got back into business building. So again, not the answer to your question, but it's just interesting. That one wasn't my primary target. Building my business was, but it led to so many great things. So how do you know? For me, okay, this is my biggest hack ever, and this is what I really believe what I would do the next time. The question, like, you had to redo this again, what would you do? The mentor, man. Like it takes so much. So my new business, my business partner, I seeked him out and paid him a bunch of money to coach me, and then he ended up being my business partner. He brought all of the knowledge, all of the connections, all of the dreams, all that stuff that I didn't have to do. And that's the same thing with Paul and Amazon. He brought me the framework of everything I had to do. So for me, if I was starting another business again, I'm lazy, man. I look for the guy that's more motivated, more knowledgeable, more intelligent in a market that I don't understand, and then be like, dude, let me come work for you or coach me on this stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And what about the VA team? How do you know whether you like blow up the team and stuff? Or like when did you even do that? When did you know it was necessary?
The VA team, so that's just, if anybody hasn't read, if you haven't read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, that and kudos to Grant, forget Grant's last name, but Grant's known in the Amazon space for giving me that book. That is something I've followed forever before that book even came out. And I read that book, I'm like, oh my God, this is like what I do. So people say, when's time for a VA? It's all just buying back your time. It's all, you're looking for things in your schedule that are either you taking you a lot of time and producing you low value, or just draining you. Draining time, like stress and drain and dislike on your day is as important to get outsourced as something that takes a lot of hours, if that makes sense. So that's what it all stemmed from. My first VA was because I was doing an Excel spreadsheet to give to my prep center every single day, and it's taking me 2 hours. Well, that's not a good use of my time. I could be sourcing for 2 hours. So that was like the first like really obvious buy back your time moment where we're like, all right, let's go on Upwork and see if I can find someone. I got super lucky. The first guy I found was great. And then the next person, I think the second person I hired might have been for arbitrage ops. I don't know. Someone in the early stages thought I'd get lucky again. I sunk so many hours into somebody that just wasn't the right hire. So it's funny in business, you often get lucky. Everyone's trying to find the right trend and the time to get in, but you're going to pay it back at some point because you didn't learn a lesson if you got in when it's easy, you know?
Yep. What
Yeah,
do you
for
got?
sure. Yeah, I think mentorship is so important. I think when we met in Miami, I don't know if it's the last one or the one before that, but you basically were just like, I will never do anything again without getting a mentor. And I really took that to heart. And when I'm doing the Amazon influencer program, like the first thing I did was buy a course, did the course, committed to make like the first 500 videos. Now I bought another course that's costing me a ton of money right now. It's like a monthly thing, but like just the amount that I'm learning, like I didn't even know how to do half the stuff that they teach, like going to the calls 2 times a week. It's just an insane process. And like I'm already seeing the dividends being paid. I haven't even been in there 30 days. And, like I'm already getting brand deals and like figuring out ways to get products to do more reviews. And it's an absolute game changer for
Yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. John, you always remember my words never go on deaf ears with you. You always remember my words. I appreciate that. No, dude, it's everything. And dude, when I hear these like high level guys on podcasts talk about what they pay for coaches, a lot of times I'm like, I paid more. I'm not going to tell anybody how much I freaking paid. I've spent so much money paying people to tell me what to do. I just really operate on this like insane law of reciprocation type of deal where I'm like, how much money could I pay this guy? Because he's gonna pay it back 10x, like in some way. And I think it's crazy. And then I read things like, some of the best billionaire business owners ever were so good at cost cutting and all this. And I'm like, that's not me, man. I freaking blast. I spend that money when I know it's like it's meant to be.
So
Yeah,
when you're gonna
100%.
do like a big mentorship or like pay for something, how do you kind of almost justify the cost? Like if you're not sure like if this is gonna pan out or not.
Dude, it's all whim, man. It's not a meticulous justification process. And I've definitely taken swings, and I'm a risk taker for sure. I've taken swings and missed. But you always end up learning something. So like it always ends up kind of going into your tool belt. Whether like I've paid for good amounts of money for calls with like if you heard of intro.co, it's a site
Mm.
where you can just find like 100 millionaires and pay them $500 and they'll do a call with you. And I've had some of those and they're pretty boring and like they didn't net much. But then I'm like, dude, I just gained conviction that I'm just like these dudes. Like they're just
Mm.
normal dudes with families that like are working. So that's just an example of that. But yeah, intro.co is pretty cool. I don't know. People are kind of missing the boat on this. There's like thousands of guys in the 9 figures. There's billionaires on there that the math doesn't make sense. You can pay $500 to get time with a billionaire. It's not worth their time. But I talked to the owner and he was like, it's kind of like a screening process. So they're almost like they may find you might be good to work in one of their operations.
Uh,
So like by me paying $500, they know I'm not a slouch. So I'm essentially paying to kind of, that's the way he described it as. And then obviously there's just the love of mentorship too. That's the only other reason mentorship kind of works.
There's no funnel like on the back end of it.
Funnel, what do you mean?
Like the $500 call is like the front end of it, and there's like a higher ticket back
No,
end.
I think those guys like it may spawn into that. There might be some guys with like higher level mentorships, but like again, that wouldn't make sense for the
Yeah,
levels of people, the billionaire guys that they don't want that. So
I
I don't
got you.
really fully, yeah, intro.co, you can founder of Reddit, founder of Zillow, like guys in just
Wow.
Fortune 100. It gets advertised to me all the time. I don't know why. I think people just are like, this is too cool. It's probably a scam.
They're probably they're probably like, this guy spends a bunch of money. We're gonna get this is perfect for him. So yeah.
And from what I've spent on mentorship, I'm like doing the math. I'm like, dude, I could be on a phone call every day with a billionaire on this site and pay less than what I've been spending on mentorship.
So how do you decide like what you're gonna do like next, or how do you split your time up? Because it seems like I know how stressful it is just to do two things, like keep up with crypto and do one thing, another one. Like how do you manage your time in that way?
Well, so crypto, I was a full-time trader for a couple years. It's been kind of a secret weapon of mine. I've been able to make some money trading and been able to finance my businesses on it. Had a lot of luck too, but also a lot of pain. Like whenever the first crypto, I was in 2017 boom, I got extremely rich and then lost every single dollar the next year. So then I became a trader and sucked at that for a while. Uh, but now 7 years in, like it's just trading for me is just, it's more like investing. It's just like patience. So right now, Bitcoin has just been sitting at essentially its high for the last like 3 years. I guess 3 years ago it was at like 60 something K. Now it's at 60K. It's been in a range for like, this is just a spot I want to get more money in. And I put more money in, like I kind of get a little euphoric and I kind of focus on it right now, but then I'm not freaking going in and trading. Like I just got to figure out how much money I want to risk. So crypto is not really something that takes much of my time. But no, I don't do two things at once. Like my Amazon store is its own thing. And they had their own set of challenges. The first half of this year, they were kind of slacking for them. Like I think Amazon now is extremely competitive, which means you have to, which is good. That means there's money to be made there, but you have to be a competitor. It's not a trend game anymore. You don't just get in and do well by just hiring a VA. So my team, I remember talking to them all the way through the end of 23. We're making money hand over fist because of all the hard work we put in 2022. And I'm like, Lou, the head girl, how are you going to make sure our people don't get fat and happy? I don't even know how to do that for myself. Like when you're killing it. And she thought she had the answer and she didn't. They got fat and happy and they freaking, I wouldn't say they phoned it in. They're still doing a good enough job, but they're then like 3 months, 4 months go by beginning of this year. Oh, Tim, where's our bonuses? I'm like, what are you talking about? You guys aren't even close to getting a bonus. You guys are partners in this business. The employees of this business are making way more than I'm making. So do you want, I mean, I can give you a bonus if we cut half the staff. And so like, and I remember the conversation with Lou where it was like multiple conversations. Oh no, we're doing this, we're doing that. Hey, do you have any wholesale deals? When she's reached out for wholesale deals, I'm like, we're not a wholesale company, so you're just like asking for like a free, like a life vest here. One day I just sat her down. I was like, Lou, on your Instagram, I think you just went to the Taylor Swift concert. I think you're doing a house renovation. Do you think maybe as the CEO of the company, like, if you were to take full accountability, are you 110% in? And she was like, okay, you're right. And from that one combo, I'm telling you, the next day, this is so magical about how like attitude transfers from the top. We like started sourcing how we used to source. The next day, the leads just appeared out of nowhere because the CEO finally fully committed. Everybody felt it or something magically before she even like had a meeting. And then they're sourcing, 50, 60, 70, 80. Now we're hitting 100 a week sometimes. So man, I wish I could weave, Trump with the whole weave thing, weaving back. That runs itself. They went through their own set of problems there. I'm here to just like, give them some, and to be perfectly honest, if they kept that going, that slouch for too long, I told Lou, I'm like, why would I be putting $600,000-700,000 of my capital into this company? It's maybe going to make me 200, 300 this year. That is that might not be a good investment for me. And that's what we talked about. And she turned it around. And again, that just doesn't take a lot of my time. That's being an owner. And my new project's been a year and a half, and I've spent many weeks, 50, 60-hour weeks on it. So it really typically is balls to the walls on one thing and then interspersing like other things on the side.
Yep. I remember you mentioned something about what the new stuff you're doing. I'm obviously doing new stuff too. I don't know if me and you have talked on Twitter a little bit. I don't know if you're talking to me on Twitter, but we've argued back and forth about different Amazon stuff. But I'm out of the Amazon thing completely, and I'm like trying to do other stuff, and it's just like so hard, man, because you get so spoiled when you're like late in a business and you start something new and you're like, this is horrible. Like, am I ever going to figure it out? But you just like have to keep just grinding day in, day out. And remember back to like the early Amazon times where it's, you know, you
Yeah.
can't even figure out how to source, right? So like, talk a bit about the struggles there, because I'm sure you, if you go from Amazon to something else, it's way, way different. So how's
Yeah.
that kind of treating you?
It's funny how arguments are always like, we always try to take the farthest side of the argument, even though we both kind of agree on certain things. Like I've seen, dude, the fail rate in Amazon is massive. Like, and there's so many risks involved. So I totally see why people are like, dude, steering some people away from Amazon. Because the fail rate is really big. Now, on the flip side, it's like, this is such a good starter business, bro. Like a new business when you have to get your own customers, your own marketing, website, all that stuff. Amazon is not that. Amazon is go source products, get a VA, and take care of some other things. Like it's like 50% as hard. Um, and then so that's the argument where I'm like, man, it's right for certain people, but for other people, it's definitely not. And for me, it's just worked out perfect because I've been able to like get that thing self-sustaining. I understand I understand we were frozen for 2 months. Like I understand, and I had no stress because I'm like, dude, I knew this is the risk I took. Like and I have a new business building. But for people diving in and trying to decide, do I freaking leverage all this credit card debt to build up this Amazon store when Bezos can freaking deactivate me? It's daunting. But on the flip side, it's like you have to take risks somewhere. You're
Mhm.
gonna have to risk somewhere. That might not be the way you want to go with it. Uh, but yeah, so in a new business, uh, yeah, dude. So my new business, I'll just reveal a little bit. Like it's a sales and marketing company. We'll go find an offer with like a really we like an offer we really love and just be like, look, we're gonna go close deals for you. And we'll market for you, we'll spend money on ads, we'll close the deals for you. And I don't have a sales background. I don't have background in like any of this stuff. And dude, I had a great partner. So he did a lot of the dreaming, a lot of the connections, putting a lot of pieces together. Uh, but I got to manage a freaking 10-guy sales team of 20-year sales guys, trying to figure out how to do that. And like waking up every day, like, man, I'm way behind on like some of these guys. Like, what can I bring to the table on these guys? And meanwhile, building the company, hiring all the people, dealing with the marketing, all that stuff. So that's super broad, but it was just as scary, or not just as scary. Oh, it brought up a lot of the similar feelings as the beginning of Amazon. Like logically, I wasn't afraid of it, but still, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing all this new uncomfortable stuff every single day. I'm dealing with freaking sales guys, emotions that might freaking know a lot more about this industry than me. And but I'm in a really good spot right now, a year and a half in. I feel like we just attract fantastic sales guys and kind of know my place. Like I use sales guys to manage the sales guys more because I'm not at their level on certain things.
Yep, that makes sense. What you got, John?
Yeah, so that was really interesting when you were talking about how do you kind of get good at like stepping away and like being a true owner of the business? Like when you were saying like the team was slacking and they were like kind of got a little lazy or whatever, almost like my first thing would be like, I'm just gonna go in there and like fix it and like tear it up. But you're like, no, listen, like you got to go fix this. Like this is your job to fix, even though you're kind of like the owner of the business. So like, how do you get that discipline or like get to that stage, I guess?
Yeah, it's definitely not an easy answer. And the reason I can do that is because a lot of these guys have been in my company for 5 years at this point. So like they truly know Amazon way better than me and they know it. So like, it's like, who am I to come in there and be like, this is specifically what you need to do? Um, but it took a long time to get there. Even in 2022, I had to come back into my company and rebuild the thing and source with these guys. Uh, and because in 21, we realized we had built this massive company that was super mediocre. We were like basically losing a couple bucks per product, 28 employees. And we had to just like get rid of all this junk we had accumulated and rebuild the company, fired half the employees or more than half. And that was a situation where I had to get in. I did not have somebody confident enough, good enough yet, where I could just be like, figure out why our sourcing department sucks. I had to plant my ideas too. Okay, how do we it was cool. I really thought about it in terms of like what made me successful as an individual. How can we bring that to the corporate situation? And for me, it was realizing that sourcing isn't just finding a product and giving it to and then buying it. It's the whole thing. It's finding it, thinking about it, looking at the Keepa, sending it in, seeing what happened to it, discussing with your buddies or with yourself. So like, how can we do that corporately? And we built kind of like in a Discord, like how people had to review their leads and stuff like that. And so that was a situation where I had to come in and rebuild and get them going. Now, and also just we built like a system for top tier buys. We're like, we're not accepting low ROIs anymore. So after that was built, they got really good on that. And that was like a true, like that was what made me successful. And I gave that to them as their platform, and they know what they're doing now. So that was, second, and maybe their second year in the company. Now it's like some of them are 4 years in the company. So they've been built on that platform, and now I have the power to be like, dude, you know exactly what we need. So I'm just more of a motivator now. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's a process.
Yeah.
It's not just like you don't just start pulling yourself, but you also expect a lot of people all the time. You do ask for people to just do things and don't tell them how to do it. Hey, I need this, and see if they can. And sometimes you got to come in and hold their hand. But yeah, in my new company, I will say it's faster and faster. Dude, my partner is like me on steroids like this. He does not do anything. He can't freaking type. And he's like the best business owner I've ever seen for that reason. Like, he's just like, I need this done, and I need it done very fast. Now, it doesn't work with sourcing because you need to have, dude, crypto is freaking pumping. If you want to share a screen, I can do a quick crypto podcast. I need to turn this off. Sorry. Yeah, sourcing, like, you got to know your sourcing so you can manage properly. I don't know how to explain, like, certain managing tactics, you can just like ask people to do things, but it is not a good feeling if you don't at all know how to do it yourself, because then you don't know how to set like the expectation on what they need to do.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the Amazon thing because, like I said earlier, I think me and you have went back and forth. I go back and forth with all these people on Twitter because, like, my big thing for it is, yes, there's risk in every business, but what I learned from just like dead stop at Amazon is I just didn't know how to do anything else like marketing or sales, or you don't even know how to build a website, dude. You don't know what softwares to use. You don't know anything like that. The only reason I even learned any of it was from doing mentorship. So that was how I learned even a little bit of skills. So my thing was like, people do this thing and they expect it to get them rich when it rarely ever happens. Like there's, the fail rate is high, all that kind of thing. And then you get done and you're left with not a sellable asset. You could get suspended and you have to put up all this capital for a lot of times, little returns, hard with your numbers, that type of thing. And then you're just left with kind of no skills. That was like my big problem with it, what I learned. And now I just kind of want to warn people. I'm not like Amazon's the worst thing ever, whatever. I mean, it made me a lot of money. So I'm not like trying to hate that bad on it, but I think I just point out some of that stuff. So, well, what do you think? If we can go back and forth on this, because I've never done it on the pod,
I agree with a lot of that, but a lot of other businesses will spit you up and chew you up and chew you out and spit you out too. I'm saying it completely wrong. Chew you up and spit you out. But I would disagree that I definitely say that I came out with tons of skills because I managed all these VAs. I learned how to hire. I learned how to build. Yeah, I learned my entire vast majority of how I do business from my Amazon company. And I'm assisting in my current company and all the people we do business with. I am so excited to like give them operations help. I became I'm the chief operating officer of my Amazon company. Now I have somebody for it, but like, I know how to give all that support. I know how to hire. I know when to fire. I know like how to set up like, Slack and Discord rooms so that people are operating effectively. I know how to keep timesheets, like all these things I learned in my Amazon store. I guess, but that's because I went for it.
Yeah, that's just you though, right?
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with Amazon. That's more of like
you're painting such a broad brush. Like 90% of people in any area are gonna go and do it shitty and learn nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but okay. Well, I'll give you a perfect example here. So the employees that maybe you have with your Amazon store, for them to go do anything else, they know how to do Amazon, right? Or most likely, I mean, and be employee, but that's just the vehicle. But your sales guys, those guys could technically start their own offer with sales, right? And take the sales calls or hop on to something else, like change niches really quickly. Well, they could be fitness guys. What if one of the sales guys, Jack, now he can teach people, he knows how to hop on sales calls. That's kind of like my whole argument about it, where it's like, I see these skills you're talking about. Those are like more macro skills, right? Of like how to learn, how to, manage a team and that type of thing. It doesn't have to do specifically with the Amazon model.
Yeah, no, my new model, I love the new model because we can pivot to any offer and sales guy, if you can sell. Yeah, I mean, learning to sell. The thing is, who the hell wants to sell? When I was starting, I was afraid of everything related to business. So Amazon was so enticing because, like, dude, I don't have to talk to anybody that I don't want to. I don't have to sell. I can literally just be insulated. Now, obviously, I'm entrepreneur, business guy. I'm like, let's freaking go. But yeah, if you have no fear and like whatever, freaking selling is the most like it's going to save you forever. If you can sell something, you can go to anywhere and sell.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, I don't know. It's funny to get into that, dude, because usually we have such a mixed like bag of people on the pod. Like some people are like, man, I'm like real bearish on it in the future. Some are bullish, but you're one of the biggest OA, probably the biggest OA seller we've ever had on. So yeah, I like to hear that perspective, especially when you have it all outsourced. Like you've kind of shown that like it is possible to have this big profitable thing that you don't have to be involved with instead of just grinding like RA all the time and shit like that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many voices will say like, "Oh, no one will ever care about your business the way you care about it." And I've seen that true in certain avenues, but like you can create a bunch of people that care about your business and work really hard on your business, especially with this. I think it's still insane that we can hire abroad and get such good people for such cheap prices and change their lives. Um, I'm surprised the world didn't even out faster. I'm surprised it hasn't been arbitraged faster, where I can still get somebody that is super intelligent for $4 an hour and then, bring them up. I have people making freaking $22 an hour. Uh, yeah, I still got to teach some guys. We've probably got 10 Filipinos in my new company acting as assistants for sales guys. And some people just pay these people just not enough. And I'm excited to get them all paid a lot more.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
You're making those people rich, man. $22 an hour. That's crazy. I
Well,
bet that's like
that's my number one. That's my number one and my number two can make some bank. But no, the sourcers too. If the company makes a bunch of money, we pay basically a profit share. They're not making their base is 7. I don't think I should ever have made their base more than. You don't never need to make a base more than 4. You want people motivated based on how they're doing, right? Not just like you get this no matter what. Obviously, a
well,
level of certainty is good, but
yeah. Well, I know back on Instagram you were talking about like a bunch of books that you were reading at the time. This was probably like last year at some point. And yeah, you're really into like the motivation and the reading and podcast, that type of thing. But who are your like favorite people to listen to? Or your favorite things to read?
yeah, so back then, dude, that basically my barber has been just the center of like so many new connections. It's crazy. Like that was about when I started my own arbitrage empire about 2 years ago. I had run in my barber introduced me to this dude that taught Bob Proctor, a Bob Proctor mentorship program. And Bob Proctor basically just teaches manifestation and think and grow rich kind of stuff. And I just hammered that for like a year, and just that took me to the next level, like big time. That just got me just like firing on all cylinders. Got me in trouble too, because you do this manifestation where you think you can do anything, and then you freaking take on. You can get 10 balls in the air, and that only lasts so long. Like you have to you're gonna drop them. You got to go focus again. So that was my focus for a while. That introduced me to my business partner was in those circles too. Some of these mentorship circles, you can meet all of the people you need to work with. So if you find like a mentorship, you really resonate with the guy that runs it, or the message. There's a bunch of other people like you. So that's how I met my business partner. More recently, I've just been reading The Buy Back Your Time 100% is by Dan Martell is the book to read. That's how I can explain how I scaled so fast. simply just buying back my time, just looking at what needs to be hired. And that was from Grant. And recently I picked up Almanac of Naval Ravikant, and I really like that. And he's got a bunch of book recommendations in it. So I'm just buying all the freaking books in it and just like not worrying about getting through them all, just freaking peeking in all of them and just trying to raise my game. I really like Naval's vibe.
Yep. Any pods or like any online guys? You remind me of Hormozy a lot, honestly. Like now that I'm actually talking to you, you say a lot of that type of stuff. You watch Hormozy and those guys.
Oh, I mean, when Hormozy was coming up, dude, I just kept watching him because he was just compiling. He's in his 20s. Is he still in his 20s? Like he was like late 20s and just everything coming at Leela and Alex, just everything coming out of their mouths is just truth. I think I just got a little over, like they freaking marketed so much. It was just too much for me. And he got a little darker and he's so jacked. I'm like, it's hard to look at him now with the freaking absolutely massive. No, I'm not a Hormozy hater, but I don't consume a lot of info, to be perfectly honest. Like I'm really focused on what's at hand in my business. Uh, I do hear a lot of like high level guys. I've been mentoring with Ty Lopez and stuff. Like he reads so much. I personally, my brain is very sensitive and I find that like reading a lot, like I'm filled with too much stuff. I really like to kind of curate what's going in my head. And I will say right now, I'm a freaking human. Elon's damn For You Twitter algo is killing me. It's too good. It gets me too freaking wrapped up. It's like dopamine after dopamine hit. I'm very embarrassed. I keep getting pulled in there. I tried block site and then my phone updates and it's not on there. But overall, I do best on a low. Dude, I learned this from one of my initial, Bibles of friggin' entrepreneurship, 4-hour work week, Tim Ferriss, low information diet. He talks about it. No news, none of this, just literally just get your information to nothing. It's in 4 hour, that 4-hour work week, like, dude, it still has so much good stuff. Tim Ferriss was so far ahead of the game. But yeah, I'm not big on consuming a lot. If I'm consuming, I just like to sit there and visualize and manifest in the morning and stuff like that and decide what I want to think about and then get after my businesses.
That's got me thinking, man. I went on a Ty Lopez binge a few months back and I noticed that too. You're just sitting there like, I know too much stuff, but I also know nothing, right? It's like I think the doing part's way more important than the high information stuff. And these days, especially with Twitter and that type of thing, everybody's got a PDF, a new group. It's like you get lost in all that information that people have.
Yeah, I'm really big on doubling down, focused in like if you find something you like even if it gets boring, just like repeating, learning the same thing. Cause like it's like I don't know, Bruce Lee, Michael Jordan, all the guy, I don't know, the quotes about just doing one thing all the time. Like nobody does that. Everybody just consumes everything and just hopes by osmosis they've learned something. And in reality, you may have just confused the bejesus out of yourself in the, in the short term.
Yeah, 100%. Are you into the motivation stuff as much these days? 'Cause I know you were big on like the high. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but you're like positive mindset and that type of stuff. Like you're really on that stuff like last year. Do you think about that as much or not as much?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is just ingrained in me. I'm a very positive thinker, but if I'm ever feeling like in a funk, like my business partner too, we're like, let's start a new course like on basically, yeah, manifestation, motivation, something like that. Like we pick a lot of the books that Bob Proctor talks about, power of awareness, science of getting rich. They're all very basic like things being repeated to you all the time, just positivity, optimism. I will say right now, I don't have something I'm like following on that right now, but I found like just a lot of joy in life right now. First of all, funny dude, a gallon of water a day just saves like freaking so many issues. That saved my life like a couple months ago. Thought I was going to look into like TRT or something, and nope, I was dehydrated. And then playing sports with dudes also has just like changed my life lately. Like I've been so hyper focused on business since my daughter was born, or coming like 6 years ago. She's 5 now. That I'm sure you guys have gotten here where your life gets so into business or it's so like single dimensional that like you just aren't feeling very much joy. Have you ever like I've like turned on a show and I'm like, I can't even laugh at this show. What the fuck is wrong with me? And I thought about it like a month ago. I wasn't feeling that good a month or two ago. And I was gonna go into, positivity, some sort of course. And I was like, what used to make me happy? Oh, sorry, dude, weaving. But you know what really got me thinking it? You know that freaking YouTube, it's Friday, yeah, Saturday, Sunday, like the dude that's
Yeah.
like, dude, I remember when I used to feel like that on Friday. I do not feel like that ever. I'm like, what the hell used to make me happy? And I used to drink a lot. I'm like, drinking with the buddies. Well, I know it wasn't freaking drinking, it was hanging out with friends. And I'm like, how much of that do I do? None. And sports, that was the other one. How much of that do I do? None. So started drinking water, started playing freaking sports with buddies. Our minds aren't that good just like sitting by ourselves, even like a lot of Zoom calls. Like you got to be in the flesh with other guys, letting shit out of your head, like, getting things mirrored back for you. And that's been like super net positive on just everything. So
Yeah.
that
I
has
think
led into me being very happy and optimistic for my business.
you talk about the single dimension thing. I think a lot of that stuff has to do like your identity too. Like I remember when I stopped Amazon, it's like, what am I now? It's like, dude, you're still the same guy, but you like tie your identity to these things that you're doing a lot at one time. And now I'm doing the same type of stuff, man. Like getting into like golf now and being outside more with other people. It's like if you tie yourself to one thing so much, your like emotions, I feel like ride a lot on the success and the failures of that stuff. And then you're like, I'm disconnected, right?
Hey, John, is he? Yeah. I just couldn't hear it for 1 second. Oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, man, I'm coming unstable.
Uh-oh.
But no,
You
no,
guys good?
it's good. My camera was just blurry. Zoomed out of focus. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. It just said
Okay.
unstable for a second. And I'm like,
Uh,
come on, my computer.
Okay, we're good. John, what you got?
What do you think the future of Amazon? You think it stays how it is, or everyone just gets squeezed out, or what do you think?
Dude, I've gotten this question, I think, every year since I started. And I just don't look at that. Like, I'm literally just looking at my freaking numbers in front of me, my speed of sale and my, I don't look at it that much, but when I look at, like, when we look at it, when my CO sends it to me, is it still good? Like, has it been like, can we make it better? And if it's not, if it's trending down, that's what I would start looking at, being like, all right, is this business worth being in if the margins keeps getting squeezed? But dude, I mean, I am again very weird with this stuff. They say like Amazon's raised fees 40% in however long. I'm like, good, dude. Everybody, it's gonna get harder for everybody. I have freaking like all this institutional knowledge. That just means less competitors. I really just believe economics kind of, it doesn't make sense for Amazon to 100% squeeze everyone out because then everyone would leave. And if they did, they would have to loosen up on the fees and all our competitors would be gone. So I really don't look at like much more than right in front of me, like how it's working right now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the arbitrage empire stuff because I remember I was in there. I talked to you. I gave you a good testimonial for all this stuff too. What happened with that? That like, what kind of you weren't as like motivated about, or didn't make you whatever. I don't know exactly how you explained it, but me and John talk about that a lot. When you're doing the coaching, you're doing the teaching. Sometimes it's like very overbearing. You don't like have a huge love for it at times. So I kind of talked through that because I know that was you had like a big plan for it. And it was sweet when you got inside it and stuff like that. But like, what ended up happening?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think I think I think I got to be a lot older to want to be a paid for coach. I think you got to have just immense self-confidence because and like just so knowing like what you bring and how and just the stats on like you just can't help everybody. Like and I just want everyone to be successful just naturally. And I believe in everybody. So then you have like bad clients come along and just drain the crap out of you and you're like, how is this worth? It's just not worth it. The math doesn't make any sense. The amount of we talk about buy back your time, the amount of drain I'm getting for the amount of money I'm getting for this person. And the coaching contract I don't love where it's like I kind of and maybe I've decided this is the contract, but it's like this person is paying me and they believe I'm going to just change their life and they don't necessarily have to do the work potentially. I don't know. These are the thoughts running through my head. On top of, I never wanted to be a public personality. So now I'm dealing with Instagram comments, not but I'm seeing it coming. I'm getting very mild Instagram comments, bad clients. The reason I did Arbitrage Empire on my own in the first place was I thought maybe I wanted to just be on my own. Maybe like I had business partners in arbitrage ops. I wanted to just kind of, I do like to be my own kind of leader of everything, but it wasn't just that. That was a part. I did want to go on my own, but then yeah, it was all those things I just mentioned, and take it all the way back to when I said I really didn't want to go into communities and coaching in the beginning. That was the truth. 4 or 5 years later, like it just didn't resonate. Public persona, no. Like annoying clients, no. Like all these things added up, things I don't like. And this happened to me multiple times in business where you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm being a bitch right now. I'm shying away from this stuff. Am I shying away from it because it's a challenge? Is this something I really want? Or do I really just not want to be here? And that's okay. And that was clearly the answer, but it took a decent amount of time to fully realize that. And that happened to me I was just talking to a buddy about this too. That happened to me, micro in my Amazon store too. In 2021, we built this 28-person company, and I could probably try to keep it at that size and build this Amazon corporation. And I'm like, and that's what I was doing for a few months. We can fix the numbers, but we can keep all these people and build these departments and have HR and all this shit. And I'm talking to guys across the street that have 50-person companies, and I'm like, am I shying away from the next level of a business? Which after 10, 15 people, you kind of have a corporation. You have to have more checks and balances, HR, you got to have these things. So for a while, I'm like, it's not an easy decision about downsizing my company because like, am I shying away from the next challenge? Or no, why the hell do I need a 25-person company? I can make a bunch of money with 5 people. Like, so you really, both of those decision points, you really got to do a lot of just like soul searching and just like, what does my heart actually want? Right? As opposed to my ego just being like, yeah, I'm shying away from this big challenge. Like, no, why the hell would you want 25 people in your life when you could have 5? Or like doing better.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I think it's like a
that's why
balance.
Arbitrage Empire eventually closed down, because I realized I want to work on my businesses again, and it was a great decision for me mentally.
Yeah, you're probably like at the time you're like, oh, am I having self-doubt? But it's also like if it all goes well, let's say that it grows to 1,000 people, am I going to be like way more miserable than now? That's kind of how I try to look at it too. It's like if it becomes massively successful, how's my life going to look? And a lot of times it's not your fear of failure, it's your fear of success. It's like, oh, if I hate this now, if this blows up, I'm going to hate it even more. Like it's not like it's going to eventually hit a number where you're like, oh yeah, I like it. No, it usually doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. And you never want to build to a place where you're just like maintaining all day long. Like I always want to build to a place of like automation. So my vision for Empire was like kind of a university. Uh,
Mhm.
but that proved harder than I thought to like kind of like install teachers and get people like, all that stuff.
Yeah. And the failure rate you talk about, that was brutal to me. I didn't know. Like when you
Yeah.
start that stuff, you think, well, everybody else sucks and I'm good at teaching and I'm good at doing this. So I'm going to do good. And then you're like, wait a second. I don't know what the numbers are. I bet it's like less than 10% of people succeed with that type of stuff. And you got to
Yeah, I
have like a
know.
very strong stomach to deal with that type of thing.
And what's even more sad is I freaking know within about 3 days if like I basically know within 3 days if a person is going to be wildly successful or just like mediocre like everybody else. And there's very few people in these communities that have surprised me. I just remember from arbitrage ops, I knew like 10 people that were going to be successful. Arbitrage Empire, and Empire was just so clear. We had a channel where you could post if you sourced. And it was like sourced today. And it was freaking Yuri and Renee and like 2 other people. And they have like multi-million-dollar stores because they just showed up every single day. And all the other people that try to find the shortcut, asking all these stupid questions all the time. Like, no, dude, just source.
Well, what are some traits you see? That leads
Yeah.
to the question.
That's what
What
I wanted
traits
to
do
know.
you see in people that make them successful like that? Aside from just like the, accountability type thing, see things. Cause I remember I'd get on sales calls and people would be super pumped up. And then like 2 days later, I wouldn't talk to them. I'm like, shit, man, how's that even happen? Like, how do you go from that motivated to like so not motivated so fast? But I have my little things that I think make, but that's like one of my biggest questions to everybody is like, what makes someone successful and how can you kind of see that in people?
Yeah, I do. So that one's interesting because I have had those experiences too. I hate the worst person ever is lip service people. They give you all the right answers. Absolutely 100%. I'm going to put this into motion today. I'm like, yeah, I feel so good about that conversation. I can just take this off my to-do list. This person's good. And then like nothing happens. You're like, what the hell happened? So they can trick. I've had employees like that. But no, dude, if you had to boil it down to one thing, it's always consistency, bro. Like I've seen the super excitable, super passionate that have done well. I've seen the people that freaking barely talk that have done well, but they all have some level of like showing up every single day. Uh, some level of like they know to get themselves off their ass, like whether it be praying. Like I have this girl. If I would say one person snuck up on me in like is like one of my employees, Des. She was always kind of like in the middle, never sure about her, but I learned more about her as she grew up in my company, and she prayed every single morning, and she would like think about her day and visualize her day. I'm like, I wonder why she just consists. And then she's one of my best sourcers now. Took her a little bit longer, but that's just a sign of she's going to stack a percent every single day. So I do want to say, I think people that have like a deep desire and a reason, that also shows up. Like Renee, this girl in Empire that was super successful, like she had a baby, and she was the combination of needed and wanted this so bad, plus just ultra consistent. I think she was a 7 day a week at the store person. So
Wow.
yeah.
It's the same thing with entrepreneurs. You think it's just like, because I think
Well,
reason
sales
ain't
guys,
good.
dude, I got sales guys, and the super passionate, like best skilled sales guys, like they can be extremely streaky. But then but the guys that literally just have a freaking system that just show up every day, they end up winning. Like turtle versus the hare, seriously.
I like that. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we don't have too much time left, Sean. Close out with anything? Any good question to close?
Yeah, I would say Soros, you've been like very knowledgeable. So what would you leave the people with if they want to be successful on Amazon or just successful entrepreneurs in general?
Aside from
Um,
consistent, you can't say that one again.
what do we leave the people with? I mean, let's just leave it on a positive note. Like we've seen a lot of fail rates and a lot of like, there's a lot of challenges in business, but also business is extremely simple, stupid. Like just, it's not easy, but just know that in any industry, you want to have the right product market fit. Like you don't want to be going in an industry and banging your head against the wall and just being, selling freaking psychology services to, I'm just making this up, but like firefighters or something. It doesn't make any sense. Maybe that would work. Uh, but there are so many ways to make money in so many industries, and it is way simpler than you think. Uh, for example, dude, there's a freaking company. I just did some math. We're in a pretty nice neighborhood, and there's more nice neighborhoods. I'm in Jackson. I'm like on the beaches near Jacksonville, and they freaking put a card on your trash can and say, "We'll clean your trash can for whatever monthly." And my wife just paid $30 a month, so $360 a year to have them come by and spray our damn trash can. And she's like, you know what? It gets even dirtier than that. Let's do it twice a month. So that's gonna be 50 or $60 a month. So I'm going to be a $600 a year customer for someone to send someone around and spray my trash can with a pressure washer. Like 500 customers, that's like 300 grand a year for just having a kid go around and spray shit. Like, there's another one I always just say that I've never seen anybody do. You go to rich neighborhoods, you knock on doors, say, "Hey, I'm a new entrepreneur. I'm trying to start my Amazon store, whatever. But here's what I'm starting: is I know you got 5, 10 things in your house that like you want to get rid of. Give them to me. I'm going to go sell it on marketplace, and I'll give you 50% of the profits. Done, done, and done. You have no inventory cost. You freaking stock your van, stock your garage. All you have to do is list stuff and sell stuff. Risk-free business. Like everybody when they're starting businesses, like because, and I'm yelling, but like I'm going at you guys hard, but like when you're starting, you think it's so hard when you have no momentum to like see how easy it is. But once you get moving, you realize like, oh, it's literally, if you started that business, you would just have to show up every single day and hit 50 doors and list 30 products and talk to people and sell products. And you just have to do that every single day. So to weave and wrap that up, there are so many simple business models that can make you a lot of money, and just go start them. Obviously, don't start something completely insane that math doesn't even add up. But like, business is an extremely simple math problem. Can I get 100 people out of 10,000 nice houses to freaking pay me monthly to spray their trash can? I think there's a good chance of that. What do I need to do every single day to see if I can make that happen? Well, I gotta walk to doors for 2 hours a day. I gotta place business cards for an hour a day. I gotta, pick up the phone when people call me, and let's see if that works for a month. A good tactic for anything you're trying is, let's try this for 1 month. Let's go balls to the walls for 1 month. What am I going to lose? I'm going to lose this amount of time. I'm going to lose this amount of money. Can I deal with that? Yes. All right. 1 month, and let's revisit in 1 month how I feel after a month. And a lot of times that's enough to get you started, where you look back in the month, you're like, holy crap, I freaking did it, and that was worth it. And now I think we've probably talked about this, and many of us entrepreneurs have talked about it. Like, once you find that direction, dude, it's 6 months and your life can be completely changed, right? Like, you have built enough momentum that you're never going back. Of just completely hardcore work for 6 months, that can do it. That can be the big beginning of your business that lasts for 5 years.
Awesome, dude.
Sweet. All right. Well, since you don't want to be found online, we're not going to ask you where they can go follow you. So thanks. Or do you want to drop it?
No, Soros Empire. I don't get nearly enough DMs. Yeah, feel free to always DM me. I'm in a pretty good period where business is cruising along. I have a little bit more free time, so always happy to take a call.
Sweet. Well, thanks for doing this, and we'll see you on the next episode, guys. Like, subscribe, and do all that stuff. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks, guys.